Okay, so we're still in our equations unit. We've now learned how to solve one-step equations, multi-step equations, equations with fractions. The second part of this unit is word problems. So we're not going to actually get into word problems today. We're just going to learn how to convert something in English into something into math. This is something you've done in elementary school, so it may sound familiar to you. And we're just going to get started. So whenever I have a number, we're going to let it represent, but we're going to represent it by the letter X. Okay. So I just really want you to get used to saying the different words in math, like twice a number, double a number, triple a number. Oh, my projector, which it wasn't even broken all along, although it did stop working. I should have just given it a second. All right. So how do we represent twice a number? What do you think? Twice a number. We don't know what the number is. We're going to just call the number X. What's twice that, Abarami? Good try. That would be a square of a number. It's even simpler than that. Think even simple terms. What do you think, Ari? X plus X or 2X. So twice a number means we're just going to be multiplying it by 2. What's a number? And we're just going to go down. I know I'm not going A, B, C, D. What's a number increased by 8? What does the word increased by mean? Abrami? It would just be X plus 8 or 8 plus X. Yes. A number decreased by 23? What do you, X minus 23? Yep. Now you have to be careful about the next one. 5 less than a number. We know it's subtraction, but are we going to write it as 5 minus X or X minus 5? What do you think? Yeah, and how did you know that? Okay, you got it. I always say whenever I see less than, I always switch around the order. 5 less than a number means you have a number and then you're subtracting 5 from it. Okay, we're going to get a little bit more complicated. What's twice a number increased by 24? Twice a number increased by 24. Aritra? 2X plus 24. Excellent. What does the word product mean, you guys? Product. I don't know if you've ever heard of this before. Maybe. Harry, what do you think? Like I'll give you a hint. It's a type of operation, either addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. What do you think, Abrami? Yeah. So product just means it's the multiplication of 4 and a number. So it would just be 4 times X. You could write this in a bunch of different ways. I'll show you a couple. You could write it as 4 dot X. You could write it as 4 bracket X, or you could just write it as 4X. All of these mean the same thing. Okay, the product of 4, a number, and twice the number. So we're multiplying 3 different things together. So I'm going to write it as the product of 4, and then a number, which is X, and then twice the number, which is 2X. I chose to put brackets, but you could have put like dots, you could have put anything. How about this one? 25 decreased by a number. Julia, what do you think? Yeah, this one, it's not less than. If it's decreased by a number, it's going to be 25 subtract X. All right, go ahead and try the second column by yourselves. I'm just going to say skip L and N. Okay, and do the rest. We'll take them up in about a minute. All right, can I get a volunteer to help me with a couple of these ones? So let's start with B and D. 10 less than triple a number. So remember, less than means you always change up the order. Sirsha? Yeah, good. So triple a number is 3X, and then 10 less than that is subtract 10. The product of a number and the number increased by 5. Abarami? Okay, good. So X, the number increased by 5 is definitely X plus 5, but we also have to talk about the product of a number and then the number is increased by 5. So what am I going to put in the front over here? I'm going to just put the number X. Good. So this says the product of a number and then the number increased by 5. The sum, what does the word sum mean? Yeah. Total or adding, yeah. The sum of a number, twice the number, and the number increased by 7. We're going to keep all of these in brackets. So how do you think we're going to write it? Yeah, and what are we going to put? So x plus 7, what are we going to put in between them if it's a sum? Nope, sum, remember? Good try. It means addition. So this is like saying the sum of a number, which is x, twice the number, which is 2x, and the number increased by 7, which is x plus 7. All right, what's the product of a number and the number decreased by 8? So product means multiplication. How do you represent a number decreased by 8? What do you guys think? Aricha? X minus 8, and then we have a product of a number, so we're just going to put x over here. This is kind of like saying x times this, x times this. And if you also wanted, if you want to be consistent, you could also write it as bracket x and bracket x. So it's kind of like saying this number times this number times this. How do you write 1/4 of a number? Erie? Yeah. Yeah, you could write 1/4x or just x over 4. Both of those are correct. And the last one, I just don't like J, K, and N. I don't know, okay, L, and N. I feel like the difference is just too minor. The difference between a number and 7. Difference means subtraction. And we don't have to do anything fancy with this. It would just be x take away 7. Yep. It's just the little comma here. So 1/4 of a number increased by 7, you would write that as 1/4x plus 7. And this one is 1/4 of a number increased by 7 would be 1/4x plus 7. So that comma just tells you like you're putting this in brackets. But I feel like it's a very hard concept to understand in graphs, so I just ignore them. Does that make sense? Okay. Let's talk about consecutive integers, you guys. So consecutive integers are numbers that come after one another. So for example, 4, 5, and 6, or 30, 31, 32, 80, 81, 82. And then consecutive even numbers are even numbers that come one after the other. So 2, 4, 6, or 10, 12, 14. Consecutive odd numbers would be like 1, 3, 5. Okay, so given that concept, we can write down consecutive numbers and consecutive odd and even numbers using letters. So take a look at what we have over here. Does anyone remember playing leapfrog when they were little? I don't even know if you play it anymore. We used to play that when we were little, like you jump over the other person and then, all right. So when you're talking about consecutive integers, the first number you can represent with the letter x, n, it doesn't matter. The one after that is going to be n plus 1 because you're adding 1 to it. Then it's going to be n plus 2, n plus 3, n plus 4, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So for example, if that first number was the number 10, then this would be 11, then this would be 12, then this would be 13, and this would be 14. So you always have to write a let statement telling us what that first number is, and then it doesn't really matter. Everything else will fall into place. The difference though, when you're talking about odd and even integers is odd and even integers skip a number. So if you let the first number be, let's say your even number. So let's say we say, let m represent our first even number. Then the second one would be m plus 2. Then the next one would be m plus 4. And then the next one would be m plus 6. So for example, if I say the first even number is 10, then this is going to be 12, and then 14, and 16. But you can use the exact same thing for odd. Just because it's odd doesn't mean it's going up by 1, 3, and 5. No, it's still going to go up by this. Let's say your first odd number was 11. Then the next one would be 11 plus 2, which is 13. Then it would be 15, and it would be 17. Okay, so even if it's even or odd, it doesn't matter. Your first number is always a letter. Then the next one is m plus 2, m plus 4, and m plus 6. Okay, we're going to put this into practice. Let's go ahead and try question number 2. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to work in your pairs and figure out what question number 2 is, and then we will take it up. Okay. So I know this can be challenging. Just keep an open mind. Keep an open mind. Okay, so it says, if x is the smallest of 3 consecutive integers, remember 3 consecutive integers are something like 3, 4, and 5. So they're basically saying x is the smallest one of those. What will the middle integer be? Nicole? It's just going to be x plus 1. And that makes sense, right? If x is 3, add 1 to it, you get 4. What's the largest one going to be? The one right after that. x plus 2. Yeah, and that makes sense. If x is 3, you add 2 to it, you get to 5. So I always say for questions like this, make like a little sample just to see if you're on the right track. All right, the next one. If x is the middle of 3 consecutive integers. So again, let's say my 3 consecutive integers are 3, 4, and 5, and I call the middle one x. What's the larger one going to be? This one is going to be x plus 1. Yes. Okay, now be careful. What is the smaller one going to be? X minus 1. Does that make sense, you guys? Does it make sense if I give you an example like this? Yeah. Yeah. So always give yourself an example, use small numbers, and try to figure out what's happening. Okay, let's try the next one. Let's change up the color. If x is the largest of 3 consecutive integers, so let's try them again. Here we have 3 consecutive integers. If we call the biggest one x, what will the middle one be? X take away 1. What will the smallest one be? Good. So what's the answer here going to be? X minus 2. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. I don't want to rush it. I don't know if I'm rushing it, but or going too fast, let me know. Slow me down. If x is an even integer, okay, so now we're talking about even integers. Let's put our most common even integers down, which is 2, 4, and 6. And they're consecutive, right? One after the other. So if x is an even integer, let's say it's this one right here. The next even integer is going to be, yeah, you're just adding 2 to it. So it's going to be x plus 2. I'll keep the examples right beside the question-ish. Okay, now we're talking about odd integers. So let's say we have odd integers, like the easiest ones to know are 1, 3, and 5. So if we call the first one x, the next odd integer is going to also be x plus 2. Don't get confused. Just because it's odd doesn't mean it can't go up by 2s. The first number is odd. That means the second one after that is still going to be x plus 2. That's why up here on the sheet, I told you, it doesn't matter if it's a consecutive even or odd integer, you're always going to be going up by 2s. Okay. Oh, I like these questions. If x is, so we're talking about consecutive even integers. So I'm going to go ahead and write consecutive even integers down, like 2, 4, and 6. Now, oh, you can't see that. The question says, if x is the smallest, so we're going to call the smallest one x, what's the middle one going to be? X plus, how much are you adding to 2 to get to 4? Good. And then how much is the last one, the biggest one, going to be? X plus 4. Good. So the middle integer is going to be x plus 2, and the largest integer is going to be x plus 4. For this last example, we're talking about odd integers. So we're talking about consecutive odd integers, which are 1, 3, and 5. Obviously, you can use any examples, but just use the smallest ones to help. So it says if x is the middle, so we're going to call the 3 the x. Let's think about this. What will the 5 be? X plus 2. Yeah, if the middle number is x, then the bigger one is going to be x plus 2. What is the smaller one going to be? X minus 2. Yes. Okay, so the smallest is going to be x minus 2, and then the largest is going to be x plus 2. So you guys, when you're doing questions like this, always give yourself an example, figure out what they're asking, and you're either adding 1, subtracting 1, adding 2, subtracting 2. That's basically what it is. And then hopefully that'll make sense. So your homework for this section is not any textbook questions, but you're going to do question number 3. And all of the answers are on the bottom right-hand side of that page. So see how it says solutions? You can check your work. And then you're going to do question number 4. And all of the answers for that are also on the bottom right. And then everyone make sure you read the funny comic that I've included. Yep.